Hi guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today, well, first of all, it's Easter, so happy Easter to everybody watching this video today. And second of all, I am going to do a video that was actually recommended by one of my subscribers. You know, I've been doing this, this is not a top 10 video list. And the reason that I'm doing this is not a top 10, is I don't like to be bogged down by, you know, traditional top 10 just fragrance videos. I like to kind of do my own thing. And if that means there's 5 or if that means there's 25, I want to kind of talk about them. And today we're going to talk about the note of aldehydes. And I thought, what better day to talk about aldehydes than on Easter? Because to my mind, aldehydes bring this, you know, very airy, very fizzy, bubbly, bright feel to a fragrance. And, you know, it's Easter is a day of, for me anyways, you know, bright colors, and, you know, it really means that spring is in the air and there's that rebirth aspect to it, whether from a religious sense or whether just from the fact that the flowers come back every year and, you know, the grass grows again and there's this rebirth, you know, element to life. So I just thought I would do this video on aldehydes. Now, thanks to our in-house resident perfumer, Rose, he did tell me a couple things that I didn't realize. First of all, most people think about aldehydes in the opening. You know, they add this airy, fresh bubbliness to a perfume. But he mentioned that, you know, there are some aldehydes that last for the entire life of the fragrance, and they are very tenacious sometimes. It's not just you know, there to add some airiness and fizziness in the opening and then they're gone. Also, a lot of the molecules, well, first of all, there are aldehyde compounds that occur organically in fruit and in flowers and stuff like that. But many nowadays are created synthetically, and some of those synthetic aldehydes, like for example C14, is also known as the peach aldehyde, and the peach aldehyde is actually not an aldehyde at all but a lactone. And then there's some examples like, you know, C10 and C12 are popular aldehydes that when overdosed give off this very soapy feel. So anyways, it's obviously a complex video. My hour-long video is not going to solve all of the questions that you may have on aldehydes, but they will at least, you know, kind of give you an insight. But before we do, I want to do scent of the day like I always do. And this popped into my head immediately when I thought about, what do I want to wear on Easter? We went to a nice restaurant, so I'm wearing you get the dressed up Ramsey, sorry for the sunglasses. You get the dressed up Ramsey today, which normally, you know, working from home, I'm not putting on a nice shirt. I'm just wearing a t-shirt or a polo or something like that. So I figure, what the heck, I'll put my foreskin shoes on, and I'll wear something amazing. And this immediately popped to mind. This is N⁰22 EDT. And I mean, you know, as far as some of my favorite fragrances ever to wear, I don't know if there's anything that, you know, this is going to be up there when I do my top 100 list. By the way, once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to drop that video. It's basically being worked on right now, and I'm trying to figure out where everything goes, but this is up there. This is probably, I won't give anything away, but this is going to be probably top 25 for me. Jubilation 25 is this beautiful mixture of labdanum and honey and resins. It's got everything from Oman, from Immortelle to myrrh, apopanax, oud, silver frankincense. There's this bay laurel piece. It's a Bertrand Duchefort, so you know there's going to be Devana. But the real twist, the genius of this fragrance is that blackberry note. The blackberry note, you know, you just, it makes it feel like it's approachable. Like I could be walking around Target and someone would come up to me and say, wow, you smell amazing. What are you wearing? And it's the blackberry note that makes it approachable to the average person, but it's the frankincense, the honey, There's even some, beautiful cinnamon and, clove. And it's a very complex fragrance. So it's approachable to the masses because of the blackberry note, but there's all these other little pieces that just make it, you feel like you're a sheikh or like the crown prince or something wearing this fragrance. I mean, the crown on top is absolutely perfect. This fragrance is, I mean, it's I'm gonna have to do a full review on this one day. I can't spend this whole video talking about it, but perfect choice for Easter for me. Okay, let's start talking about the aldehydes. We're gonna start with the Chanel and we're gonna end with the Chanel. And this is probably one of the newer discoveries for me that just screams aldehydic floral. This is number 22. And this is the older Eau De Toilette. Look at the back. Compliments of Chanel. Just hilarious. They used to give these little 19 ml bottles away to their preferred customers. Look at this. Look at this. This is just beautiful. And this is, I almost think I prefer this over number 5 now. I don't know. I'm torn. It instantly just, as soon as I wore this to bed a time or two, it just stole the spotlight from number 5. I like number 5, but I'm really loving this. This is beautiful. It's not my thing. It's not something that I would wear daily or anything like that, but to break it down, to understand it, wow. I mean, this came out in 1922, hence the number 22. Ernst Beau was the perfumer, and this is just an aldehydic floral to the T. Ylang ylang, rose, jasmine, tuberose with aldehydes in the top. I said it before, but aldehydes give off this, in certain perfumes like this, they give off this, almost like you're just taking a pump and blowing up a balloon, and it just expands the scent, and it just makes the florals that much more beautiful, the fruits that much more uplifting. It's gorgeous. I really enjoy number 22. Okay, now we're going to do a summer scent, and this is one I've talked about a lot on my channel because it's worth talking about. It's very similar to a very expensive Creed fragrance called Neroli Sauvage. This is called Eau de Rochas Porom. And look at the bottle that I have. Notice the cap is kind of blending into the bottle. This is the original formulation. If you look at the back, it almost looks like your fingerprints go right here, and then waves of water are rippling from the back of the bottle where your fingerprints are. Absolutely beautiful presentation. And this came out a year before Neroli Sauvage, and it smells so similar that I would never buy another bottle of Neroli Sauvage after I found out. But this is this aldehydic opening with green basil, with lemon vervain, and then this citrus, and then basically this floral heart. Freesia, jasmine, carnation, lily of the valley, rose, violet. I mean, I'm not the biggest floral fan, but when florals are done right, I really enjoy it. And this is perfect for summer because it is masculine. It has oak moss and vetiver and stuff like that in the base. It's a little bit woody, but that citrus that, and normally I'm not a big fan of citruses, but boy, let me tell you, in the summer, this works perfect. I'm so glad to have an older bottle. I hear the new formulation is quite nice too with the gray. It has like this gray cap. The juice color is much lighter on the older bottles though, so I don't know whether that was like I don't know what changed, if it was reformulated when Procter & Gamble bought Rochas or what, but I do hear it's still quite nice, but maybe not as nice as the vintage. Okay, next is probably one of the best newer fragrances that use aldehydes in a stunning way. This is a fragrance that both, Rich Mitch and I have talked about. We both love this fragrance. Definitely full bottle worthy. I don't have a full bottle. I have a 10 ml decant. I'm just going to have to work off of this for a while because they are pretty expensive. But this is a fragrance by the up-and-coming house of Les Indemodables. And this is a fragrance called Ombre Supreme. Now, when you see the word ombre, don't think amber. Think ambergris. All right, so ambergris is the star of this fragrance. It's basically overdosed in this fragrance. Ambergris is a natural material that is ejected from sperm whales, either from the front or the back. Most scientists think the back end of the sperm whale, but some think they actually throw it up. But when they eat something, a cephalopod or something with a beak that bothers their stomach, their bodies naturally create this. It almost like wraps around the beak, and they eject it so it doesn't, hurt their insides. And it floats in the ocean, and, years, decades, it washes up onto shore, and, people find it. It's a very valuable, rare ingredient. And this is ambergris. It says there's a note of immortelle, but I don't get very much immortelle from this. I basically get this very fresh aldehydic opening. The aldehydes almost will remind you of like the ocean, and that'll come again later. But don't think like marine aquatic. Think like you're standing at the side of the ocean, at the edge of the ocean, and just watching the waves roll in. There's sun sparkling off the water. There's flowers floating in the water. It's this very watery, aldehydic, peppery, floral, with a little bit of patchouli and a little bit of immortelle as a backbone. But it really allows the ambergris to shine. This is going to be lovely in the summer. Probably the best version of a blue scent you could ever buy, because the whole point of a blue fragrance is it's ambroxan. Ambroxan is overdosed in blue fragrances like Dior Sauvage or Bleu de Chanel or stuff like that. And ambroxan is a synthetic component of ambergris. And so, that this is basically the highest quality blue fragrance you can buy, because it's natural. Ambergris is natural here. That they're using the real deal. It is a little expensive. I think it's $260 for 50 ml. But if you're going to drop that kind of money, and you're a fan of ambergris, that's definitely one to check out. Next, we're going to go to an oldie, but one of my favorite fragrances ever. This is from the year 1964. This is done by the great Bernard Chant. Actually, the Wafts from the Lofts guy did a Perfumer's Portfolio video on him recently, and he is definitely worth it. I haven't done one on him yet, but I will. This is from the house of Aramis, and it's just called Aramis from 1964. Now, if you look it up, it'll say Eau De Toilette. The older bottles say Cologne. That's what you want. If you can find an older Cologne bottle instead of the Eau De Toilette, get it. This is one of the best examples of a masculine Shifa. It's spicy. It's leathery. I love the leather in the base. I love this DNA, to be honest with you. I could wear this all year round. This could be a signature scent for me if I had a signature scent. It's oak moss. It has these very classic masculine touches in the opening, like Artemisia. So it gives off this green. There is some citruses. There's bergamot. But the aldehydes in the opening just mix with these traditional masculine, little touches. And then it just kind of just falls into everything in this fragrance just falls into place. The clove, the orris. Orris is a very expensive ingredient. There's jasmine, but it never goes feminine. It's always kind of there in the background. There is cardamom, clary sage, myrtle, amber, tree moss, coconut. I'm sorry, coconut is listed, but it's actually castoreum. Leather, vetiver, sandalwood, patchouli, and musk. One of the, if you want to start digging into vintage masculine fragrances, this is a fantastic place to start. I would highly recommend getting your nose on the original Aramis, and that leather note in the base. It really satisfies a leather lover like myself. Oh, amazing. Okay, so now we're going to go to another Aramis. I've got 3 Aramis fragrances on this list. There probably could have been even more, but I didn't want to just go on forever. So another Bernard Chant. He was a master at using aldehydes. Some perfumers didn't like using aldehydes. Pierre Bourdon did an interview where he said he didn't really understand aldehydes. He used it in one of his first creations, but as the years went on, He just said he couldn't use them because he didn't think he understood them well enough to use them properly. And this is the older vintage bottle. The new bottles look like, well, it looks like the, if you look it up, you'll see the new bottle. This or JHL or Aramis 900, they all go in this gentleman's collection for Aramis now. So this is the vintage, and it's called Devin Country Cologne. Now, don't let that Cologne version scare you from getting these. This and this, even though they're Cologne concentrations, are absolute beasts. They will wipe away Eau de Parfum, Parfum, Extrait. I mean, modern fragrances cannot compete with this stuff. And this is, you know, in the 1970s, there were a lot of green aromatics elixir, number 19, you know, stuff like that. There were a lot of very green Shifa fragrances that were popular, right? And Devin basically took that DNA and they made it into a masculine fragrance. So this has this beautiful green galbanum that was so popular in number 19 for women at the time. So you get this green galbanum, and you get Artemisia, okay, which was also very popular. I don't know if there's a big difference when it says mugwort or Artemisia. I treat those as the same thing. Maybe someone knows mugwort is a type of Artemisia, or I don't know the plant genesis well enough to break that down for you. But like, for example, Aramis said Artemisia, Devin says mugwort. I don't know. I think they're all pretty similar to just a regular Joe. But then you get this lovely lavender, stone pine needles, cinnamon, caraway, big loads of oak moss. And then he kind of did a similar trick with the original Aramis in that there's labdanum, there's leather, there's patchouli, there's cedar, there's musk. There's really something underneath holding it all together. But I would wear this more in the warmer weather and this more in the cooler weather if you wanted to be, let's say, season proper. But honestly, anytime these could be worn, and you will smell, very few people will be walking around smelling like Devin, I can tell you that. You can also just wear some of the green fragrances from the 70s marketed towards women. Because as we know, gender in perfumery is really more of a marketing ploy. I've got a fragrance coming up. I've told the story before. I'll tell it again on how it was meant to be a women's fragrance. It didn't make the cut. Another fragrance got picked. So another company took it and turned it into a masculine fragrance, and men bought it and love it, and they have no clue that it would have been a women's perfume. So there you have it. Last Aramis fragrance is more of a Oriental. It's more along the lines of Opium by YSL, or Cinnabar, which I don't own. I would love to own a bottle of Cinnabar one day. That's on my list. This is a fragrance called JHL. Joseph Henry Lauder is what that stands for, who was the husband of Estee Lauder. And again, this is a vintage bottle. The new bottles look, oh my God. If you're an Oriental lover, and again, if you're a woman, don't let the fact that this is created for Joseph Henry Lauder stop you from trying this fragrance, because I wear Opium, and I would wear Cinnabar from what I know of it, and you should not stop yourself from wearing this either if you love Orientals. This is so, the aldehydes in this are very, very present. Bernard Chant made his aldehydes very present. Of the three, this is actually the most present aldehydic between the original Aramis, Devin, and this. The original came out in 1964. Devin came out in 1977. And this came out in 1982. So they're all old school, but we're progressing here. And, you know, rumor is that Joseph Henry Lauder loved Cinnabar and Opium, and so they made this fragrance for him so he could have his own fragrance and not wear a woman's perfume at the time, which I guess many men didn't do back then. It wasn't as common as it is now. And so what Bernard Chant did is he took that DNA and he added this very orange, there's this extremely orange, almost like a thin orange line that runs right down the center of the perfume. It almost never goes away, that orangey feel, almost like that orange feel you get in Lagerfeld Cologne from 1978. So this is a couple years later. It has that orange touch to it, but it's much more to the Oriental side, to the classic Oriental side. Lagerfeld Cologne kind of does its own thing. It's more powdery with tobacco. This is more classically Oriental. There's a huge dose of cinnamon, huge dose of aldehydes, and then there's this fruity orange, like a thin orange line that just runs right down the center of the fragrance. But you also get rose, carnation, ylang ylang. There's balsam fir, there's jasmine, patchouli, the labdanum and benzoin and amber and sandalwood in the base and vanilla are just on a cold day. Whether this is in or out of style to me as the decades go by is completely beyond the point. This is timeless to me. I mean, this is, if the weather's right and you put this on, I mean, you're going to stand out. And you're gonna like the way you smell if you are into those kind of Oriental heavy, resinous, ambery fragrances. Okay, next we're gonna do a Shifa. This is a spicy Shifa created by Rosendu Two and Alberto Morillas from 1988, and this is called Sybaris. Now, Sybaris, is a discontinued fragrance, of course, and it uses this aldehydic opening with green notes and some spicy cumin. Now, this fragrance to my nose has a bit of a problem in that the cumin cinnamon interplay over the first hour or so doesn't feel right. It feels unbalanced to my nose. The aldehydes kind of add to that because you also get that basil, artemisia, that green thing going on. But it's the cumin cinnamon combo. There's also sandalwood and leather and amber and vetiver, frankincense, moss, patchouli. There's a lot going on. It is a complex fragrance. This is before Alberto Morillas went to the dark side, as I like to say. This is pre-Acqua di Gio, pre his big Cologne, heavy-handed Cologne fragrances. He was still making special stuff back then. And Sybaris, while it's not my favorite, okay, there are other fragrances like this that I would rather wear. Actually, to be honest, I'd rather just wear Corum if I'm going to wear a Puig fragrance. But as a case study, for my fragrance term paper, I'm glad to be able to smell this. All right, next, we're going to go to an under-the-radar scent. Now, a couple people, I've talked about this fragrance before, and I talked about which version to get, because you have to be very specific. And if you get the wrong one, you will be disappointed. But a couple people reported back and said, hey, I bought the one you talked about, and I absolutely love it. It's completely different from the one that they're putting out now. And that's an exact case study into why I love vintage perfume. This is Perry Ellis, but the trick is you have to get the cologne for men. Okay, if you get anything other than the cologne for men, if you get the current one that says Eau De Toilette, or it doesn't say cologne for men down on the bottom, there's this bottle. There's also a short, stubby splash bottle that looks like you just took this and shrunk it down and made it fatter and shortened the cap kind of thing. But this is a fragrance that opens with this aldehydic green galbanum with, again, a little bit of an orange. This was very popular. This was 85. A little bit of an orange touch down the middle with old school carnation. And then there's loads of real oak moss in this. Tons of real oak moss. With pimento, Apopanax, patchouli, lavender, and then the twist is the civet. The civet adds that, you know, the mid-'80s were all about these resinous, you know, like Take Obsession for Men or something like that, where they were resinous, but they were also a little bit dirty. This almost feels like a bit of a Shifa fragrance that has a leather base and civet that makes it a little bit dirty. But there's so much going on. The aldehydes, the galbanum, the rose, the benzoin, the tonka, the mandarin orange, I mean, you just go on and on and on and on. And it's very complex, and you would be shocked how different it is from the original. So make sure you get the one that says Cologne for Men. If you get anything else, you're going to go, wow, this is a terrible fragrance. And it is dirty, though. There's cumin here. And if you don't like cumin, be careful with this because it is a little bit dirty, but I like that dirtiness. And then you mix the cumin with the civet and you're home free. For guys like me that like those dirty perfumes, this is a master find by me. Under the radar. I don't have an original to compare to. Because the other one that they sell, the modern iteration, is shite. But if you can find an older bottle, get it. Especially if you can find it for 30, 40 bucks. It's a steal for 100 ml. Okay, next we're going to do my scent of the day yesterday. And my scent of the day yesterday was Romeo Gigli per Uomo. And this is also an Alberto Morillas creation, and I really enjoyed this fragrance. Aldehydes, plum, lavender, Brazilian rosewood, honey, and then it's cinnamony. The cinnamon in this is amazing, by the way. I like the cinnamon in this way more than I like the cinnamon in this. So between 88 and 91, he improved his cinnamon technique. And the green juice, if you can find this fragrance, the aldehydes in the opening, the vanilla and amber and styrax and oak moss in the base. I was smelling my hand at midnight last night before I went to bed. I did throw a fragrance on, which will come up later, but I was smelling my hand before bed, smelling the late dry down of this, and it is gorgeous. It never falls apart. Beautiful fragrance. All right, next, we got to pick this up because this is going to be forever if I don't. Next is a fragrance by the great Gerard Anthony. This is Salvador by Salvador Dali. My God, this fragrance. I've talked about this before, but, you know, there's a group of fragrances between the late 80s, early 90s that just give off this. Chris from Scentland calls it sunshine in a bottle. I don't know what I would call it. Comfort in a bottle. I'm just so comfortable in these fragrances. This is aldehydes in the opening with pepper and old school carnation, cinnamon, leather, amber, oak moss, musk, patchouli, tonka, vanilla, cedar. It really gives off, to me, it falls directly into that category of comfort. Like if you took Boss Spirit, which I did a first impression on, I wish I had a full bottle of that, and mixed it with like YSL's Jazz and Guerlain's Heritage, you get Salvador. What a fragrance for the money, and you can still find a bottle for cheap. People don't know about that yet. All right, next, one of my favorite masculine aldehydic fragrances of all time. The aldehydes in this are huge. Maybe JHL is the only one. JHL, No. 22, and Ombre Supreme so far are the biggest aldehyde bombs. This is an aldehydic bomb in the opening for a masculine scent. It is Lagerfeld Photo. And Photo is, I mean, aldehydes to a T, done right too, because you can do aldehydes wrong. In fact, it's very easy to overdose aldehydes in a way that ruins the whole fragrance. This is an overdose of aldehydes done right. There is a honeyed aspect, but it's fresh honey. I wear this mostly in the spring and summer. There's guaiac wood, oak moss, patchouli, amber, musk. I have an older version before this version. I'll do a comparison video for you guys one day where we compare the old one to the new one. But God, Lagerfeld Photo, discontinued of course, but what a masculine fragrance that is. Okay, now we're going to do another Gerard Anthony. This is the one that was marketed towards women originally because it was supposed to be Dior's Poison, or Poison, if you're a Frenchman. And Iquitos is the fragrance in question. I love Iquitos. It is aldehydes, honey, this fruitiness, beautiful orris, one of the most beautiful orises. It's so powdery. There's rose, but then it's the civet, the oak moss, the leather, castoreum, vanilla, vetiver. Oh, I love this fragrance. You have to be okay with powdery fragrances. This does go powdery. You know, some people say it smells like grandma. I can't wear it. You have to just keep going. Wear it a time or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Let your nose adjust to the beauty of that fragrance. It is a gem, highly sought after as well. Okay, now we're going to talk about a leather fragrance that has one of the most rough, butch, aggressive openings, and I love it. It's Bandit by the house of Robert Puig. Now, this is the Eau De Toilette. So this is the vintage Eau De Toilette, which is discontinued, unfortunately. But this basically uses this aldehydic opening with galbanum and some florals like ylang ylang. And if you know the that violet touch that I talked about in my last video from Nietzsche 10, this uses that violet ionone, that purple ionone touch that I talk about with heavy leather, castoreum, civet, myrrh, patchouli, amber. It's one of the best leather fragrances ever of all time. It's so unique. I can't believe this was marketed towards women. It's just shocking to me. I mean, I can't think of a woman who would wear that right now. I mean, you would have to be like The Devil Wears Prada, you know. That would be a situation where you would wear Bandit, I think. You know, that kind of powerful woman. Okay, now we're going to talk about an Italian house called Arrogance Uomo. And Arrogance Uomo is it's a fragrance that uses aldehydes with lavender in the opening. But think about a very Italian fragrance style. So there is a floral heart, geranium, jasmine, lily of the valley, carnation, rose, but the base has that Italian style leather, if you will. So it's completely different from a leather like Bandit. This is the leather I actually really prefer to wear. But if you're in the summer or spring and you wanted more of a classic, fresh, herbal, you know, still woody and spicy, but Italian, a little bit more fresh. This has leather in it, but you could wear it in the summer, which I do. And this has leather in it, but you could wear it much in the summer as well. So these two, to me, I kind of wear in similar situations. Arrogance Uomo, great fragrance. The aldehydes are just part of the overall blend to make it what it is. Okay, now we're going to talk about probably one of the best examples of aldehydes, and I'm still kind of working on understanding and learning this fragrance. I will do a full review before this bottle's gone. And this is a vintage bottle from the house of Hermès, and it's called Calèche. Or I'm sorry, Calèche. Excuse me, I'm supposed to be working on my French. Calèche. And Calèche is basically a aldehydic floral. So you could put it in the same category maybe as a number 22 or number 5, but this is a Guy Robert. And I think maybe it has just there's a little bit more going on with Calèche in the form of, underneath there's vetiver, there's amber, oak moss, there's sandalwood, cedar, tonka, stuff like that. It still has the aldehydic opening with citruses and florals. They've added cypress, which I think is a heavily underused note. This is a beautiful fragrance, a classic, and I need to understand this more. I need to give it more modern, current wears, and talk about that some more before I do a real review on it. There's the bottom. You can see that old school batch code. Okay, now we're going to go on to a decant that DL Quelia sent me. This is from the house of Roja Dove, and this is Oscar Porom. Now, Oscar Porom, as you can see, I used a pretty good amount of it. And Oscar Porom, I did actually, I think I did a first impression video on this fragrance on my channel. I'm pretty sure this is the one that I talked about. If you go back through the channel, you'll find it. But this opens up with this lovely grapefruit. Oscar is a hotel chain. Roja made this fragrance for them. They're like a high-end hotel chain in England. And this is Carnation Mayflower and Cistus. The star of the show is the Cistus labdanum. But there's other stuff going on. There's celery seed, galbanum, nutmeg. It's this peppery. If you wanted to wear a Roja, but you didn't want to wear Creation E or, Diaghilev or something like that, you wanted something a little easier to wear, this still kind of gives that high-class, posh vibe, but it's a little easier to wear, if you will. It's still, labdanum. Roja loves labdanum, and it's here in pretty big quantities. Would I buy a bottle? Probably not. But it's a Shifa fragrance. He loves his Shifras, and the aldehydes in the top, announce the fragrance. Roja, I noticed, tends to really appreciate the old style fragrances. So like, the old Chanels with aldehydes, the leathers with, Bellamy and Hermès and stuff like that. The Guerlain, Heritage, he made Danger, which is very, very similar to Heritage. So he appreciates the old style fragrances, let's say. Okay, another first impression that I did. This is from the year 1983, and this was sent to me by Duncan, famous YouTuber. This is called Jil Sander Woman Two, and my God, this is full bottle worthy. I'd rather take a bottle of Woman 2 over Oscar almost, because this is this animalic floral fragrance that is so complex. I mentioned loving perfumes like Teatro alla Scala by Krizia, stuff like that. This has that insane heavy floral composition. There's so many flowers in here. There's carnation, iris, jasmine, lily of the valley, orchid, rose. There's 8 florals with neroli. And then there's this big aldehydic. It almost feels like it's going to be an aldehydic floral. But then all of a sudden, you just get this hit of just this heaviness from castoreum, frankincense, civet. I love these 80s fragrances. This is a hard one to find. But if you have taste like I do, if you ever find Woman 2, get it. It's worth the grab. Okay, next, we're going to do another Roja Dove. And this is one I do not think is worth it. I think this is extremely overpriced. This is called Shifa Extraordinaire. Now, Shifa Extraordinaire is a Shifa fragrance. What makes it extraordinary is it was supposed to be done without any oak moss. That was the idea. If oak moss is banned, could they still make a perfume, a Shifa fragrance? And this is just, it's too clean for me. I like my Shifas dirty. I like Diaghilev, stuff like that. This is just way too clean. Big aldehydic opening, a million florals, lots of fruits. There's cumin in the base, but it's not dirty enough for me. There's civet in the base, not dirty enough. I would say this would be, again, amazing on a woman in a position of power, just like Bandit. Shifa Extraordinaire would smell amazing on a woman of power. Do you want to spend $1,800 or whatever it is on a bottle of Shifa Extraordinaire just because it has a purple cap? I would say no. Just get Mitsuko or something like that. Get Rochas Femme. Okay. Now, another discontinued Roja that uses aldehydes in the opening. This is Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, so Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is also discontinued, and I like this fragrance, but I don't love it. And I don't really understand how it relates to Saudi Arabia. There's a bunch of fruits. There's raspberry, strawberry, apple, blackcurrant, and bananas. 5 fruits. Does Saudi Arabia grow bananas that I don't know about? I don't understand that. I will tell you it has that Roja middle, Roja has those Middle Eastern lines with all the different countries. It has that DNA to it. There's a certain touch of, the way they did the oud, the way they did the mid, the aldehydes in the top with that green artemisia and lime and mandarin orange mix into something beautiful in the opening. I will say that. But I just don't understand. I don't understand what is the connection to Saudi Arabia. It doesn't make sense to me. I like it, but I don't love it. And there's a lot more going on than the aldehydic opening there, but it's worth mentioning. Okay, now one where the aldehydes are very important. The only Pure Bourdon that uses aldehydes. This is Kouros. One of my favorite fragrances of all time. This is a vintage bottle. This is a Charles of the Ritz. This is how you tell Charles of the Ritz. Look at the bottom. Look at that batch code over there. Right here. See how sometimes it'll be white. But Anuj scored me this bottle from Enchanté. Very appreciative of that. These Charles of the Ritz bottles are impossible to find. Look at the stain on the nozzle. So some of it was used. The juice is about right here, give or take. So it was a partial that he found me. But I'll tell you what, this is the Kouros that Pure Bourdon expected. This is what he wanted to show the world. This is what Kouros was originally meant to be with the real civet. And it's so much more refined. Civetone, the synthetic civet, is so much harsher, which I don't mind actually, because a lot of these animalic fragrances like Furio back there that uses that civetone, that fake civet, I don't mind. I like the growl that it has, but this has something that those could never have. It has this refinement, this class, which you would never expect from Kouros. You can see Kouros is written down here instead of right here, so it's dropped down a bit. You can kind of see some different touches in the bottle, but the bottom is the real giveaway, and absolutely stunning stuff. The aldehydes with the clary sage and tarragon in the opening, and that dirtiness from the civet, and then as the fragrance goes along, the geranium just comes in and makes it this clean. Geranium gives off this clean, almost like scrubbed soap accord, so you get the dirtiness, the cleanliness, it's contrast. Pure Bourdon is a man of contrast, and aldehydes are an important part of that. Now I'm going to show you an aldehydic fragrance I don't get on with, at least not yet. I need to wear it more. I need to force myself to wear it, even though I don't like it. This is called Histoire de Parfum Rare Petroleum. Look at the color of the juice. This is a 2011 release, discontinued, of course. Animalic leathery fragrance. I struggle with this because the opening is aldehydes and oud and civet. Civet absolute, actually, is what they say. I don't know if that's different from normal civet or what. But the civet and the aldehydes and the oud just open to give the aldehydes here mix so strong, so heavily with the oud and civet that you almost get this almost like this fish market type smell in the opening. I really do not like the opening. As it dries, it gets better, but the aldehydes are some of the toughest I've ever. If you want a challenging aldehydic fragrance, check out Rare Petroleum. I wish I would have been able to score a bottle of Ambre, I think it was called. Now, there is another perfume that I think does something very similar to what Rare Petroleum was trying to do, but does it a million times better in my mind. This is called Encens Mythique. And when you hear the word encens in a fragrance, or I think it's pronounced encens, you expect it to be just an incense bomb. It's not. Frankincense is here, but it's not the star of the show. The star of the show is actually 3 things. Aldehydes, saffron, well, 4 things. Rose, and ambergris. Those are the 4. And the aldehydes and ambergris here, give off this, you're staring off into the ocean. Again, very similar vibe to Ombre Supreme, right? Very similar vibe. You're staring off into the ocean. But while Ombre Supreme gives this feeling of, sunny day, flowers floating in the water, still, a very still current. The waves are very small. They're not crashing. Everything is calm and peaceful and life is great. This gives off this very introspective vibe, almost like a storm brewing within yourself kind of thing. It gives off this very, you're staring off into the ocean, but waves are crashing hard because a hurricane's coming. And it's stormy, it's cloudy, it's dark, it's going to rain. And you're feeling sad for whatever reason. This is a very introspective perfume. And even though it's beautiful, the rose in this is gorgeous. I have a hard time wearing this because it always puts me in this very somber, mood. If I ever went to a funeral, this would be the scent that I would pick. It's just that kind of vibe. So I like it. I enjoy it for what it is, for the art that it is. Whereas I don't necessarily enjoy Rare Petroleum. I struggle with it. They feel like they're kind of telling similar stories, but this is animalic and rough, and this is beautiful and gorgeous. So I need to wear both of those more, but there you go. Okay, next we're going to do a Guerlain, and this is one of the most classic Guerlain fragrances of all time. This is Vol de Nuit. Now, this is the old bottle. They don't make these bottles anymore. These are discontinued, although Guerlain discontinuing bottles is nothing new. And this is Vol de Nuit 1933. This is the Eau De Toilette, as you can see right there. This is galbanum, citruses, orange blossom, iris, narcissus, vanilla. Of course, it's a Guerlain. It's going to have vanilla, oak moss, orris, musk, sandalwood. The aldehydes are in the mid, which is very strange. It's very strange for the aldehydes to be in the mid. So there you have it. I mean, Vol de Nuit, there's probably a million videos online you can go watch about it, but it is a very unique classic. If you're into collecting the classic Shalimar, Mitsuko, you have to have Vol de Nuit. Okay, next we're going to do 2 more and then we're done. So the first, 3 more. So the first is Crazy Krizia. And I've talked about this fragrance before. One of my subscribers just got this and was talking about how high quality the ingredients smell. And they are. This is a Dominique Ropion. If you like fragrances like Obsession for women, you have to try this. The aldehydes and this green fruity touch in the opening are amazing because you get this aldehydic galbanum peach orange thing going on, and then there's florals, carnation, jasmine, lily of the valley, and rose. But it's the base, amber, labdanum, tonka, huge tonka bean fragrance, huge. And then vanilla, cedar, and civet. So you know how the original Opium for Women had that green opening with that ambery, goopy, ambery feel in the base with the vanilla and stuff like that. And then the civet was a little animalic. This is just like that, but I feel like the ingredients are even higher quality here. Like they took it to the next step. And this is a Dominique Ropion. So this is the Eau De Toilette. You could also do the Eau De Parfum. Both are absolutely amazing. I would advise getting both, to be honest with you. Okay, 2 more. First, we're going to do another Krizia. This is Krizia Womo. And obviously, Krizia liked using the aldehydes in the opening. This is green, heavy green, like the bottle looks like here. I mean, it is a heavy green fragrance with galbanum, basil, artemisia, cyclamen, carnation, geranium, oak moss, leather, musk, patchouli, and vetiver. If you like fragrances like One Man Show, you have to try Krizia Womo. The aldehydes in the top really open, you know, they really announce they enhance the greenness. Like you're looking at a tree that is now grown up. You know, it's not a baby tree anymore. The aldehydes really make it grow like you're looking up at a big tree. It's beautiful. Like you're standing in a park with beautiful trees around you. I prefer this to One Man Show. This is my preferred choice. One Man Show is also beautiful, but I struggle with that one a little bit for whatever reason. Even though this I also struggle with because of the pure green. It's just so green. This one feels higher quality to me for whatever reason. And finally, we started with a Chanel. We're going to end the aldehyde perfume. This is not a top 10 with a Chanel. This is number 5, Eau de Cologne. Discontinued. This came out in 1921. This is the ultimate aldehydic floral. Aldehydes with iris, jasmine, lily of the valley, rose, violet root, amber, oak moss, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, vanilla, vetiver, and civet. And if you're into aldehydic florals, I would highly, I prefer the Eau de Cologne. The Eau de Toilette I also own, but I'm not showing it because I kind of struggle with the Eau de Toilette. I don't like it as much. This one is a little bit more earthy. Like they amped up the vetiver, and even though it's an Eau de Cologne, I feel like it's a little bit more masculine, if you will. And so I prefer to wear the Eau de Cologne over the Eau de Toilette. But if you're a fan of aldehydic florals, both will do. So I hope you've enjoyed this aldehydic video, this aldehydes video. I did the best I could. Aldehydes are very complex. There's probably a million other aldehydes you could talk about that I didn't even scratch the surface on, other than saying they're airy, bubbly, fizzy, bright. They can also be this blinding, metallic-like vibe, by the way. Sometimes those will be aldehydes. If you want to discuss more about aldehydes, let's do so in the comments. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do my top 100 countdown. So a like and a subscription helps us get to that point. Obviously, you don't have to, but it is appreciated. It helps me kind of compete with the big boys. And I want to get this top 100 countdown off my chest. So leave a like and a comment and a subscription if you haven't subscribed, because it does help. It helps me compete with the people that I say don't love perfume as much as me. Not going to buy all these bottles with their own money. Not going to take the time to do these lists and talk to you guys about it and stuff like that. You know, I run this as a hobby. They run it as a business. That's my real selling point. This is where hopefully the real perfumistas can come and aggregate ideas and talk and get to know one another and stuff like that. That's what I would truly like to create here. That's why I don't have video intros, I don't have music, I don't have cuts. I just sit down, talk, and do these videos. And I hope you appreciate it. Hope you appreciate me and my Sunday's best too. You're not going to see this very often. Well, you might now that we're going back to the office, but that'll be a month from now. So anyways, good chatting with everybody. Thanks for watching. Look forward to hearing from you soon down in the comments. I love seeing your faces. Cheers. See you again next time with another video. Bye, guys.